from Netherlands, Paul Ramsak. Paul has been working at the Energy Department of the Netherlands Enterprise Agency RVO since 1996 and is the central contact for geothermal energy. He's also the co-chair and one of the founding fathers of the Geothermica initiative. And Paul has recently been appointed executive committee members of the IEA Geothermal TCP on behalf of the Netherlands. The floor is yours, Paul.
Thank you very much, Virginie. Good morning to you all. Bonjour à tous. Perfect. So, good morning again. Very happy to have this opportunity to share, let's say, way more bottom-up the experiences from a person that has been working for Dutch government and also internationally for the last 25 years, working on geothermal. Just to respond to a few of the questions being asked recently, transfer from oil and gas into geothermal. One of our colleagues started recently. She has worked oil and gas for many years. We hired her during COVID times. She came directly to the Netherlands to work on geothermal right from Oman, working in the petrol industry. She's doing perfectly, part of the team. She made the transition already. Delft University, oldest mining faculty in the Netherlands, have drilled a geothermal doublet the other year. It's ready. It will be connected to the campus district heating grid, but it will also provide the first 6,000 apartments in the south of Delft. The grid is being built. I will show some pictures on that. And there is a training program for renewable heating at Delft University, attracting many young people. There will be a research grant for that. So I think what is happening is we are in the midst of that transition, and there will be huge opportunities for each and everyone. So my name is Paul Ramsak. I work at the Netherlands Enterprise Agency, which is basically part of the Dutch Ministry of Economic Affairs, and it's now also climate policy and green growth. I'm also a co-chair of the Geothermica initiative, which is a cooperation between member states on, let's say, the side of the public authorities, mostly out of Europe, but for instance, the UE is also part of that cooperation. Okay, now let's see if I know how to click through. So yeah, we are a small country in a way, you know where we are, I guess, but we are 18 million and growing, still growing, so densely populated. And not only in the Netherlands, in many cases, most of the population is moving towards the cities. So we have a huge urban population, large densities, and that means also concentrated heat use, heat demand, and also cold demand in the hotter regions. I already explained this. We are part of the government. I'm on payroll of the ministry, basically. Taxpayers' money that I'm wasting, hopefully in a good way. The story that I will be telling will be focusing on heat. Because for us, geothermal is a key solution, I would say, to resolving the heating and cooling demand challenge. This is true, I would say, for a big part of Europe, and it might be even true for a larger part of the world. And to illustrate that, I have this graph here. On the left, you see in orange, you see the share in the final energy use of heat. The black parts are the electricity demand in final energy use. And what you see, that in most of the European country, half or maybe even more than half of the final energy use is in the form of heat. And then you have also to realize that in the black part, which is the electricity part, which might be bigger in the south of Europe, parts of this black electricity are used to cool the buildings. So if you would add that up, it's even more. Now another element is that here in black you have the variation in demand for electricity, and the light blue is transport. And it's roughly stable. You have, you know, the day and maybe a little bit of weekly variation. But for heating demand, heating and cooling demand, you have huge seasonal differences. So that means that we're not only talking about solving the heat transition and solving the heat demand, also we need to think of storage and seasonal storage potentially in the longer run. And what we believe very much is that also here geothermal and the underground can play a major role. So in our opinion, geothermal and seasonal storage together with other renewable heating sources will play a crucial role in the longer run. So again, heat transition is key, definitely for us. It's the big elephant in the room, and I will show you why. This graph and the data is a few years old, but it doesn't matter so much. We are not last anymore. That's the good news. But we're doing quite well in terms of renewable electricity. We're building wind farms offshore Netherlands. We have a lot of solar. We have a lot of grid congestion by now, so the grid cannot cope with it anymore. But then look at renewable heating, and these are the numbers for Europe. I think somewhere here is Sweden. Then we have this beautiful country that is not part of the EU yet, but Iceland. They are subsidizing fossil fuels, as you might know. That's a very interesting thing. I would like to end up there for the poor people that don't have geothermal, the 3 or 4 people in the west or in the east of Iceland. But the Netherlands here was ranking last. We are doing a bit better now in terms of renewable heating and cooling. Way over 90%, way over 95% of the heating and cooling provision is still by fossil fuels. And that's logical in a way if you look at it historically. We were lucky to find natural gas in the 60s, province of Groningen. And one of the largest reserves west of Russia in Europe. So we profited from that. We had good lives. We exported it, made many people happy. And we laid out a grid, so each and every last hamlet and farm is almost connected to the natural gas grid. But that means, on the other hand, that when we did this, and we rolled it out in the 70s, within 5 years, 10 years max, we rolled out this infrastructure. We didn't build district heating grids back then. So only a minor part, 6%, 7%, is connected to district heating. And that is the challenge now, I would say, the biggest challenge. So if you look in numbers, we have in the Netherlands roughly about 7 million houses and another 1 million, let's say, other buildings. So we're roughly 8 or 10 million houses. And where are we? At the moment, we have like 500,000 houses, dwellings, apartments connected to district heating, mostly fossil fuel sourced. But all the rest is kind of connected to natural gas. So that's the situation where we start from. And we want to change that. We have to change that because we have moved from being a net exporter of natural gas to a net importer. So I'll take you quickly through history. Before I do that, I have a graph I almost don't dare to share with you because you're all the experts here, but I use it for many people that are not so much experts. And this is The Hague, skyline of The Hague, if you're aware of that, if you've ever been there. Very nice city on the beach. And I click through it because it's not the PowerPoint, I think, here, but it goes very quickly. The thing is, you can drill into the underground, either closed loop or open loop, whatever. If you have a proper aquifer, there is heat under our feet. If we can use that heat, we can heat our cities. We don't have to import. It's local, You have local employment. You have the local people solving it, and it's your solution. And I had the animation, but on top of that, I guess most of people realize that, but on top of that, in summer, we do have the sun. And if we could transfer that heat of the summer into the winter, and maybe the cold of the winter into the summer, we would even have a better solution. And now guess what? We can do that. We can store the thermal energy, and probably in many places the underground is a very good place to do that. So underground heat storage or geothermal heat storage can be also a key component in this future energy system. Let's dive into history. About a century ago, a little bit more than that, industrial coal production started in the south of the Netherlands, Dutch mountains between Belgium and Germany. Found coal, city of Heerlen was like the heartland of this coal mining industry. And coal has been the major energy source for many decades in the Netherlands. 13 mines producing coal. There was a little dip here when we got some intrusion from the east, Second World War. But after that, it ramped up again and produced all the way into the 50s, 60s. And then what happened? You know, everybody was happy, everybody was warm. But this guy, being the previous Minister of Economic Affairs of the Netherlands, he came to the south, to the hard coal mining region, December 65. It will be 60 years ago, end of the year. And he had a speech. And basically he announced, and there are tens of thousands of people working in this industry. Can you imagine? This whole region is kind of providing the energy for the country. And he is announcing, well, guys, we found something else, natural gas in the north. This will be the future, and that means we're going to basically phase out the coal mines. And we will do this rather quickly. And within 10 years' time, all the coal mines were shut down, turning the region from being one of the richest regions in the Netherlands into sheer poverty with all the problems attached to it. And now, what is happening? We're entering the age of gas. Beautiful. Perfect. Now, I skipped this very quickly, but we have, you know, laid out the grid, it's everywhere. And then all of a sudden, and this is, I don't know if it's coincidence, but it's really intriguing to me that actually a lady working at the municipality in this heartland of the coal mining country came up with the idea. Well, these mines were shut down in the 70s. They are flooded. But hey, the miners, they knew it's warm down there. It was, you know, pretty warm. So couldn't we use that heat? Why not? And this idea was taken on and taken further. And they managed in the year 2006 to realize the first geothermal drilling. Deeper in Netherlands, geothermal is counted if it's deep geothermal is counted, deep geothermal if it's deeper than 500 meters. And they drilled into an old, basically, gallery at 800 meters, 700 to 800 meters depth. That was filled, you know, that was built in the 30s. They had the plan to drill deep and to drill shallow for the cooling, because this is for heating and cooling. And guess what? They were drilling in 2006, 2007 into a corridor that is maybe, I don't know, 2-3 meters wide. 5 out of 5 were spot on. They hit each and every target based on the maps, you know, drawn in the 30s before the war. They had a German driller, so I was not afraid of you know, drilling in a straight line. But I was afraid that the guys in the 30s hadn't sharpened their pencil well enough. But apparently they did, and they could have a 5 out of 5 hit. And this is how it started. Project is connecting more and more buildings, and they're expanding it. So this whole agglomeration, 250,000 people, will be more and more connected to the heating and cooling grid based on geothermal mine water. Then, a year later, basically, I got back from Iceland. I exported some geothermal tomatoes. People said I was crazy to export geothermal tomatoes, but I get a phone call from this guy, Rick van der Bos, from our greenhouse area, major greenhouse area, who turns out to be the largest beef tomato grower in the Netherlands. He heard about geothermal. He was connected to me. I was working on this for already, I think, 5 years then, trying to get it off the ground. I met him. We drove to his greenhouse in an old Peugeot 205. It was very nice. And although the bigger players had already tried it before, but hadn't succeeded, the moment I was entering his greenhouses, I knew the guy would do it. And indeed, less than 2 years later, there was a drilling rig. There was a drilling, the first doublet in a aquifer, about 1,800 meters deep, 2,002 kilometers deep. And yes, you know, I was quite confident. If they can drill 5 times in a corridor that's 2-3 meters wide, based on maps from the 30s, then you should be able to drill into an aquifer, you know. So, yeah, the water came out. It was 65 degrees or something. And the good thing was, this was very close to our capital, The Hague. So the politicians and the members of parliament, they could go there and they could touch. And they, whoa, it's hot. And only then, somehow, you know, people believed, started questioning, went into the parliament. And 1 year later, actually, in the Queen's speech, which is like State of the Union, the word geothermal was in there. And I don't think any other renewable ever made it into that speech. So this is how it started. Then we got, in the years, we got more and more, mostly in the greenhouse, we got geothermal strawberries, and I don't know whether it was because of the tomatoes or strawberries, but basically, 10 years ago, this guy, which happened to be the new Minister of Economic Affairs, he announced that basically the cabinet, and I will try to translate, wants to get rid of gas heating already then. And it states, yeah, we should heat our houses by waste heat or water, warm water from the earth, being geothermal heat. This was 10 years ago, and in my opinion, this was a crucial moment in time. It was again the beginning of a new end. It was the beginning of also a new era in which water will be hot. And this is what happened afterwards. So we started developing and drilling, and we had really quite a quick uptake in these years, mostly thanks to the pioneers in the greenhouse area. But we can do way more. We can do way more. This is a very old picture. Back then, EJEC issued this research, and there was this statement that more than 25% of European population lives in areas that were directly suitable for geothermal district heating. And this is deep geothermal. So if we count in shallow, it would be even way more. Then what we did in the Netherlands is we basically, the sector came with a master plan, a kind of roadmap, how we can move forward from what we had back then, 3 petajoules, towards 50, towards 200 petajoules. Where are we now? This is the situation last year, the latest statistics. We have 42 doublets, and I'm only talking about deep geothermal now, not including the shallow geothermal. We have 42 doublets, 28 locations. We're already at almost 8 petajoules. We heard yesterday that France is at 8.5. So I think it's a very nice competition. We are trying to, move on together, and we should organize this competition. But already, this compares to, let's say, a yearly gas use of 260,000 households, which is comparable to a city of The Hague, which has over 500,000 people. And over 100 projects are in planning, and we are expecting that in the long run, about 25% of total heat use can be provided by deep geothermal. And in the greenhouse sector, this would be even over 50%. So that is really big, that is substantial. I will go through this quite quickly, but you will have it in the slides. But, how did it come into being? What did Dutch government do to make it happen, or to help to make it happen? Because at the end of the day, it's the entrepreneurs and the operators and the investors that make it happen. We can only help. Climate agreement, you know this. You heard about this. We are heading for decoupling from natural gas. 2030, we want to have decoupled 1.5 million houses. Remember, we have 500,000, but we're heading for 1.5 million. We're taking a neighborhood-to-neighborhood approach. Each and every municipality has to come up with heat plans. Heat plans, how they want to decouple. We have a national analysis. What would be the societal cheapest solutions? In many places, district heating is the societally cheapest solution. So definitely there it would make sense to move into district heating. And in many of these places, the aquifer below is very good, is very well suited for geothermal. So working on that. And in the meantime, last year we've closed down the Groningen gas field. So we will have to move forward if we want to have something domestically, or we are depending on import fully. You know this, collective solutions, individual solutions. Just pointing out, also the individual solutions, if you use ground source heat pumps, will be more efficient, way more efficient. Collective heat can be at higher temperatures, but also at lower temperatures. And don't forget the storage, the underground thermal energy storage. So we have done quite a lot. We have the ambition, we had the market ambitions, these are the governmental ambitions, 15 petajoules by 2030. And 2050, 110 petajoules. What we need to do now is to move into our cities. And the key bottleneck is building the district heating grids. It's not so much a geothermal, it's the district heating grids. Once we are there, we will move on. We're looking deeper, but also shallower And if I say shallower, it's like medium deep, somewhere between 500 and 1,500 meters. We have quite many aquifers. So the deep aquifers, 2 to 3 kilometers that we are now using up to now, are roughly about under 1/3 of the country. The shallower ones are under, I would say, more than half of the country. We work together internationally, nationally. We have 2 key instruments. One is like a feed-in tariff that's not only for electricity, but also for heat, also for geothermal. The other one, and I think that's also a key instrument, is a guarantee scheme. Guarantee scheme, risk mitigation scheme for geothermal. I think that is really crucial. And we've been operating that, but we are now looking very much into the French system to have a zonal approach to move into the lesser known areas. We did some national survey. We have a very open law. We have all the mining data you can find online. You can go in. I think this is also a crucial part. We also mapped the above ground potential to see where is the demand and whether you can match it. You find this on our website. And we invest in innovation. We invest in new technologies, and we don't do it alone. We work together internationally, mainly under the framework of the Geothermica initiative, and move forward. 2 new drilling technologies that are now being tested in the former Shell lab that's operated by TNO in the Netherlands now. International corporations that are being tested here and really moving forward with good people. A few words on this. We made a roadmap 2 years ago on energy storage, an integral picture. Electricity storage, molecule storage, thermal storage. Basically saying by 2030, thermal energy storage, and that would probably mainly be UTES, underground thermal energy storage, should be integral part of every district heating grid. The other thing I like very much is this graph. Came out of one of the Geothermica project, GeotStore. You see electricity storage, hydrogen storage, molecule storage, and heating storage, and how they can complement each other. They're helping each other. It's not that they're fighting each other. They can help each other out. So, again, very good. Then last year, a renewable heat source perspective came out. This was sent by our minister to Parliament. Basically, the question is, do we have enough renewable heat sources by 2050 to heat our homes? And for heating and cooling in general? Answer was yes. How does it look like? This graph, you have the sources on the left, geothermal, that is deep geothermal, waste heat, solar, aquathermal, bodem. What is bodem? Bodem is the underground. That's the first 500 meters. That's a shallower geothermal. So if you add up basically the potential, and we are expecting that we need 250 petajoule, which is this line. If you add up the potential of deep geothermal and shallow geothermal, we're already above that. Yeah. But we expect that it will be a mix. If we go for solar, which will be part of the mix as well, we will need the storage of the underground. So again, the underground comes into play very much. And we are starting now a market introduction program for this medium deep geothermal, and having allocated roughly 100 million for the market introduction here. You might be aware of this. People are talking about heat pumps. But if you use air source heat pumps or water-based source heat pumps, then these are somehow the temperatures. So you need a lot of electricity to pump it up. Whereas if you use earth, waste, or sun, you're already at these temperatures. So this is how we look at it: shallow, intermediate, deep, and here including storage, seasonal storage that is around. I'm coming here to the final slides. Geothermal licenses, you can find them on the website, all over the country, but a lot concentrated around where most of the population lives and also where the greenhouses are, around Rotterdam, The Hague. And here you will find, if you find it, get the slides, a few examples. Delft, like I said, Technical University, they started the geothermal drilling. They already did it in 2024. They will connect the campus, and they started building the district heating grid, a new district heating grid, 30th of January this year. This is the guy in charge. They're building it. North of the Netherlands, Groningen. Geothermal was not an option, but they have the largest solar thermal installation of the Netherlands, and they will store it in the underground. So UTES, aquifer storage, at medium temperatures, combine it with waste heat from a data center. And this is already heating houses, and it will grow to 10,000 and 30,000 and more connections. Last but not least, in the south, in the mining region, again, they use a 5th generation district heating grid. New drillings are expected next year, expanding this geothermal mine water projects over the region, and basically continue to propel this heating and cooling transition. Just a last word on the geothermal initiative, and I think just making the point here that you can read through it. But what is important, I think, is that we have a kind of joint vision of the future. And what we try to do from here, and this was already kind of integrated, I would say, into European discussion, is that we define together with industry partners, together with the research partners, a vision for 2050, where we say basically on the heating side, we expect that 25% of Europe's heat demand for space heating and cooling can be provided by geothermal, as well in the building sector as in the greenhouse sector, and also partly in the industrial sector. And the other one is also that we say underground thermal energy storage will be a crucial element in this equation, and we expect that at least 10 additional % will be provided by underground thermal energy storage. And somehow having this joint vision, maybe also globally, so that would be, I think, the next step to integrate it also, or to align it with IEA views on things, will make that we and policymakers, but after all, in the end, the people in the field that are really realizing it, move quicker forward. Thanks for your attention, and yeah.